Hello students, welcome all to the session of Crash Course which we are going to start today and may extend over a month's time. I am Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Ramakrishnan, your physics tutor. I'll be covering the chapter Units and Measurements today. I'll briefly run through how to access these revision notes and the test in the Clay6 website. Okay, you can go to clay6.com. Okay, and then this is the home page. Now you can go and click on the practice page. You can see the, now go on to the NEET Premium. Okay, from there go to the revision notes. You can see we have actually summarized everything, the whole chapters for physics, chemistry, and biology. So it is, you'll get an idea of how to practice for the NEET exams and what are the important things you should know and how you can prepare for your tests. Is that okay? So today I'm going to start with units and measurements. Okay. Quickly, let us go through that. Before that, let me also explain how you should. Yeah, now you can see this. There are so much of physics tests here for physics, chemistry, and biology, some 102 tests. So soon after, I briefly go through this units and measurements. After that, we'll go through one of the, I'll do a sample test for you so that you will know how to get through that. Okay, so first, now look into this. The physical quantity. Physical quantity is nothing but the numerical value times unit. Okay. Some physical quantity can have only, only the units. I mean, not units, only the values. They do not have any dimensions. Okay, like say the refractive index, dielectric constant. These are some of the examples where they have the physical quantities have only the values. They do not have any. In that case, you can call them as just constants. Okay. Some quantities will have only scalar, like say mass and charge. Such quantities are called the scalar quantities. They have only the magnitude. Okay. Such quantities are called as scalar quantities. Some quantities have magnitude and direction. For example, displacement, velocity, torque, all these are examples for vector quantities. Okay, so basically we have come across three quantities where we have only constants, where certain quantities, where certain substances, certain quantities can have only magnitude, where certain quantities can have magnitude and direction. Okay, next, units. When we talk about units, we come across fundamental units, derived units, and the practical units. Now, what are fundamental units? When I say units of mass, you know it is kilogram. Unit of length is meter. Unit of time is seconds. Unit of temperature is Kelvin. Unit of current is ampere. And luminous intensity, it is candela. Quantity of substance is mole. Basic unit of length is mass. Basic unit of length is length. Yeah, you can write it as L. Okay, meters. You can see it as meters. So certain quantities can be derived from the fundamental units. You call them as the derived units. Say for example, derived units can be derived unit is speed. Speed is distance by time. Okay, distance by time. For distance, you know, the SI unit is now going to be meters, and for time it is now going to be seconds. So meters per second. You write it as ms to the power of -1. Okay. Next, coming to the dimension of physical quantities. Units of derived quantities in terms of basic quantities are called as dimensional formula. We'll come again. Units of derived quantities in terms of basic unit is called as the dimensional formula. So when a dimensional formula is equated to its physical unit or physical quantity, then the equation is called as the dimensional equation. Okay, I'll come again. When the dimensional formula is equated to its physical quantity, then you say the equation as the dimensional equation. Now, what are the significant features? Now, significant figures, in fact. Say you would have studied in your earlier classes about approximations and how to estimations and how to say, for example, a whole unit, how you round it off, all this stuff you would have studied in your earlier classes. Now, the significant figures are, say, for example, like say you are going to represent it, the whole unit in some known quantity. Like say, so there are certain basic rules which you have to follow for the significant rules. Okay, like say all zeros between two non-zero digits are significant. I'll do the example problems. Before that, I'll explain it to you. And when I do the example problems, you'll understand what are how I arrive at these figures. Okay, and then all non-zero digits are significant. All zeros to the left of the first non-zero digits are non-significant. Say, for example, 0. Say, for example, it is now given as 0.0 or 0.00028. You can just say it is two significant figures. That because the earlier zeros does not have any value, so you just say 28. So it has got two significant figures. Okay. If a number is less than 1, zeros on the right of the decimal point, but n to the left of the first non-digit is non-significant. For example, if you say 0.0023, even then you say it is now going to have two significant figures because only these two significant, in other words, you are going to, whatever is now going to determine the estimation or the approximation, okay, that is now going to represent the significant figures, okay. And then again, fifth point is trailing zero are significant. Like say, for example, 0. or 1.080. You can see 1080. You can say it has got now 4 significant figures. Okay. Then, when a number is expressed in expandable form, that is the expandable term does not affect the number of the significant figures. For example, 12.3 into 10 to the power of 23. This is now, here you can say it has now got 3 significant figures. So you, even if you expand it to so many zeros, that is not going to affect the significant figure value. Okay. Next, of course, you can say that it has now got 35 figures. All the zeros are now going to be counted. So it has now got 35 figures. Okay. Now coming to the errors. Of course, errors can happen due to the experimental values or the machine defects also. Like say, and how are you going to calculate those errors? Let us now see. Say, for example, if addition, when it comes to addition, x is equal to a plus b, then delta x is now going to be the small error which is now going to happening between both in a and b. Then you say delta x is equal to delta a plus delta b. You just add up the errors. Okay. And then same way, when it is now going to be in the case of subtraction, x is equal to a minus b, then you say del x is equal to del a plus del b. Okay, del a plus del b. Even if it is now going to be subtraction, when it comes to errors, remember you'll have to add them up. Okay, and then coming to multiplication, x is equal to a by b, then del x by x is equal to delta a by a plus delta b by b. So x is equal to, so even in this case, you can see that it is now going to be addition. You're not going to multiply, even though it is multiplication, you are just going to add up the errors. Remember that. Okay. Same way, when it comes to powers, x is equal to a raised to the power of x. Then delta x by x is equal to x into delta a by a. Remember this. When it comes to powers, it's slightly different. So x is equal to a raised to the power of x, then delta x by x is equal to x into delta a by a. Look into the fifth one. This is quite interesting. When it comes to a raised to the power of x, b raised to the power of m divided by c raised to the power of b, then delta x by x is equal to x into delta a by a plus x into delta b by b plus x into delta c by c. This is very, very, very important, okay? Because you might come across problems like this. When x is equal to the sixth one, when x is equal to log a base e, then you say delta x by x is equal to 1 by x delta a by a. Okay, in your 11th class, you would have done practicals on vernier calipers, screw gauge and everything. Let us now see how to calculate the least count in vernier calipers. So least count is equal to the main scale minus the vernier scale division. So size of one main scale division is equal to, you write it as M is equal to MSD and B is equal to VSD. Okay. So length of the main scale division is equal to the length of B, that is a vernier scale division. So the least count is equal to B minus A by B times M. Okay. B minus A by B times M. Same way, least count of a screw gauge is equal to pitch by total number of division on the circular scale. Okay. Pitch by total number of divisions on the circular scale. Now what is pitch? Pitch is equal to the distance moved on the linear scale. How much ever, whatever is now going to be. So when you screw it on, you can see that you will be moving, is it not? So that distance moved on the linear scale by the number of rotations, that is now going to give you the pitch. Okay. I hope this part is now going to be clear. Now let us go to the other part, that is what else you have to learn. These are the important things which whatever I covered till now, these are the important things you have to know. Now what are the other things you'll have to know? Now see, when I say a unit is nothing but an internationally accepted standard for measurement of quantities. Say, when I say meters, kilograms, seconds, all these are internationally accepted. So you call it as a unit. Okay. Then measurement consists of a numerical quantity along with a relevant unit. So when I say I take a scale and measure 10 centimeters, I say 10. And along with that, I say it is going to be 10 meters or centimeters or kilometers, whatever it is, right? So it is now going to be the relevant numerical unit along with the measurement. Okay. Then units. So we were talking about the fundamental unit and the derived unit. So what are the units for fundamental quantities or base quantities? So for length, time, and mass, they are called as the fundamental units. Whatever is now going to be the length for the units for the fundamental or base quantities for length, mass, and time. They are called as the fundamental units. And we were talking about the derived units also. That is the units which are now going to be the combination of fundamental units are called as derived units, or where you have derived these units from the fundamental units, then you call them as derived units. Okay. Now coming to the next part. Fundamental and derived units together form a system of units. So these two, basically the fundamental and the derived units together, they form the system of units. Okay. Now, I told you that when you take some units, it has to be accepted internationally, right? So such units are called as the system international D units, or in French, it is generally denoted in French. So you call it as SI units. Okay. It was developed and recommended by the General Conference of Weights and Measures in 1971. So we call them as SI units. So these SI units list for 7 base units. You can see in the table below. Along with it, there are 2 units, that is the radian and the steradian. Both radian and steradian are dimensionless. Now I can actually zoom it out and show it for you. Now see length. You can see length. It is now going to be meters. The symbol is M. Okay. And for mass, it is kilogram, and you simply represent it as kg. And for time, it is seconds, and you just write it as S. And for electric current, it is now going to be ampere, and it is simply A. For thermodynamic temperature, it is Kelvin. Okay, it is Kelvin, and you just write it as K. And the amount of substance, it is mole. You can come across this in chemistry. Okay, and the symbol is MOL. And luminous intensity, it is candela, and it is CD, simply CD. Okay? And I was talking about the steradian, radian, and the steradian. Radian is generally for the two-dimensional unit, and for the steradian is for the three-dimensional solid figures. Okay, so remember these two are now going to be dimensionless. Okay, now coming to the next part, that is measurement of length. Measurement of length. When you talk about length, what is the definition for length? Length can be measured. Now, how do you measure length? You can use a meter scale, you can use a vernier calipers, you can use a screw gauge or a spherometer. So now for meter scale, you know, the range is now going to be 10 to the power of minus 3 meters to 10 to the power of 2 meters. And for a vernier calipers, you can see it is 10 to the power of minus 4 meters. And for a screw gauge and spherometer, it is now going to be 10 to the power of minus 5 meters. Okay, now when you calculate, how to calculate large distances? When I mean large distances, say between, it is now going to be apparent position of the object. Okay, so parallax. Now you use the term parallax here. Parallax is a displacement or difference in the apparent position of the object viewed along two different lines of sight, and is measured by the angle or semi-angle of inclination between these two lines. So the distance between the two viewpoints, we call it, that is going to be the basis. Okay. Now look into this figure. Say for example, you are going to measure the distance of a planet using the parallax method. Okay. Now let us say S is the position of the planet. And capital D is now going to be the distance between the two viewpoints. A is one viewpoint and B is one viewpoint. So AS and SB are now going to be equal to D, the distance between the two viewpoints. And theta is now going to be the angle between them. Okay. So for any planet, now we can see this D is now going to be the B. The B is called as we said B is the basis, right? So B by D is now going to be very, very, very small. So hence you can take AB as an arc of a length, B and D in radius, and with S as the center. So you can say B is equal to D theta or D is equal to B by theta. So similarly, if alpha is now going to be the angular size of the planet, then you can say simply, you can say alpha is equal to D by D. Okay, where that is the angle subtended by D at Earth, and small d is going to be the diameter of the planet, and A is the angle, or alpha is going to be the angle between the direction of the telescope and two diametrically opposite points of the planet as view. Okay, so this is now okay. Next, coming to the other units, like so this was the measurement for big units or very, very big distances. Now, how to calculate for or measure small distances? To measure small distances or distances as low as size. So now we are going to something, we saw something which was macroscopic, something very, very big. Now we are going to see something very, very low as size of a molecule. Okay, there we use electron microscopes. Okay, so these these microscopes contain electron beams. They can be controlled by electric and magnetic field, and you'll be learning more about this in the dual nature of matter. So electron microscopes, you can see it has a very high resolution of say 0.6 degrees angstrom. You can imagine how high it is. Okay. And then measure of mass. mass is usually measured in terms of kg, but for atoms and molecules, unified atom mass unit is used. That is 1 unit, 1 GMU is equal to 1 by 12, the mass of the carbon 12 atom. You take it as carbon 12 atom or carbon 12 isotope, including the mass of the electrons. You know, mass of the electron is nothing but 1.66 in 10 to the power of minus 27 kg. Okay? Apart from using balances for normal weights, mass of planets is measured using the gravitational methods, and mass of atomic particles are measured by using mass spectrograph. Okay, all this will be studying for we'll be studying about this in the dual nature and atoms and nuclei. In those lessons we'll be studying more. Okay. Next, coming to measure of time. Time is measured using a clock as a standard atomic standard of time. Nowadays we use the atomic standard of time. The atom used is the cesium atom or the atomic clock. In cesium clock, see, generally you know that when we use the clocks, there is always a gain or loss of time, loss of seconds, you can see. So when why you might wonder why are we using the atomic clock? The reason is in cesium clock, a second is equal to 9192631,770 vibrations. So you can imagine how what a lot of vibrations it is, right? Of radiations from the transition between two hyperfine levels of cesium-133 atom. So this is one reason. So why we use cesium clocks, because the gain of time is now going to be the gain of seconds, because I told you there will always be gain or loss of seconds, right? So that is now going to be very, very, very low. Say it can happen only after 100 years or 200 years, like that. So that is why one reason we are using is cesium. Okay. And then coming to accuracy and precision of instruments. So when I say instruments, obviously there can be manual error. So the error, when I say, it can be due to the the machine which we are using, or the error which while measuring also. Okay, any uncertainty resulting from measurements by measuring the instrument is called as error. So what is error? Any uncertainty resulting from measurement by a measuring instrument is called as the error. So it can be either systematic or random. Okay, you call it as whenever it is a systematic, you call it as a systematic error, or when it is a random error, you call it as a random error. Okay, so accuracy of a measurement is how close the measured value is to the true value. Okay, that is now going to reveal the accuracy. Next is precision. Precision is the resolution or closeness of series of measurements of same quantity under similar conditions. Okay. Next, types of errors. As I told you, there are two types of errors: systematic errors and instrumental errors, that is random errors. Errors can either be positive or negative. This you would have come across in your screw gauge itself. There are following types: instrument errors. As I told you, the instrument itself can have errors. So these arise from imperfect design or calibration error in the instrument, and imperfections in experimental techniques, that is while measuring, that can happen. That is called as the personnel errors. Okay. These errors can be removed by taking proper instruments and calibrating it properly. Okay, following all the rules while measuring that. Okay, measuring any say for example, it can be anything, a table, or when I say minute measurements, it can be a small wire, anything. So experimenting and proper atmospheric conditions and techniques, and remove, this is very, very important, remove human bias as far as possible. That can be reduced. Okay, and then finally it is now going to be the random errors. Random errors are errors which occur at random with respect to the sign and size of the random errors. Okay, so we quickly summarize the whole lesson. Now when I talk about when we say units and measurements, you can wonder for how much marks can I expect this in the paper. So the number of questions they might ask or might not ask. So 0 to 1. The probability of asking a question in this is now going to be 0 to 1 only. And the marks of all allotted generally can be 2 marks. Okay, so you can expect for 2 marks at the most from this chapter. You can expect it for you cannot. I mean, the question might not occur, or you can expect one question, and it can carry up to 2 marks. That's it. Okay, so now we'll go to the test. How to take the test? So till now we just summarized everything. I summarized the whole lesson now. Now let us see how to take the test. Now click on this physics. Okay. Now you can see the blue bubble and the red bubble. Blue bubble means you have not taken the test, and R is going to be the random test which can take. It might contain extra questions. So we have chapter wise question tests, and see, now this is going to be the green bubble. That means you are going to take the test. You can take the test is already taken. Okay, green bubble indicates that you have taken the test already, but you can take it any number of times. Okay, so I'll click take test. Now I go to the test. Okay, now the questions right here. Okay, now let me minimize this. Okay, now let me go to the first question. The equation of state of some gases can be expressed as P plus A by V squared into V minus V is equal to RT. Here P is the pressure, V is the volume, A, B, R are constants. The dimensions of A, what are the dimensions of A? This is the question asked. Okay. So let me solve it. Okay. Now see, now you know it's given A by V squared is equal to P. Okay. Or I'll cross multiply, I'll get it as A is equal to PV squared. Okay. So now you know P is pressure and V is volume, he says. What is the dimensional unit for pressure? It is now going to be mL to the power of -1, T to the power of -2. Okay. And V is, of course, L cubed, you know that. Okay. The whole square. So multiply everything. What do you get? You get it as mL to the power of 5, T to the power of -2. Now let's see which option is correct. A is correct. mL to the power of 5, T to the power of -2. So I can mark this. Okay. Now save this and then let us go for the next. Second question. If C is the capacity and B is the potential across the condenser, what will be the dimensional representation of half CV squared? Okay, let us solve this. Now it's given half, okay. Yeah, half CV squared. Okay, half CV squared. So that is nothing but half times charge times potential squared, right? Potential squared, which is nothing but half into charge into. Now potential can be written as work by charge, right? So work by charge. So one charge and charge I can cancel. Now the result is now going to be half into work. Okay, half into work. So it is something same as work. Now it is now going to be one. So you can, what is now going to be the dimension for work? It is now, you can now see that D is correct. So it is something, so D is the correct. So the mL squared T to the power of -2 is the dimension for work. So that is now going to be. Now let us save this and go to the next question. Question number 3. If force, acceleration and time are taken as fundamental quantities, then the dimension of length will be what? Okay, this is something interesting. Let me clear the board. Now see, now it's given L is equal to F to the the power of, just a second, L is equal to f to the power of x, a to the power of y, and t to the power of z. Okay. Now, let me write the dimensions for all the left hand side and the right hand side. So I will get it as m to the power of 0, L to the power of 1, t to the power of 0. That is equal to, when I say for force, it is now going to be m, L, t to the power of minus 2, the whole power x. And area, you know, A is now going to be L, t to the power of minus 2. And for time, it is going to be t to the power of z. Okay. He says, sorry, A is acceleration. So A is Lt to the power of minus 2. So t to the power of z. Okay. Now, let me equate the powers. Okay, the values for powers, and I can see that x is equal to 0, right? So x is equal to 0. Next, when I equate for length, the powers for length, I'll get it as 1 is equal to x plus, this is now going to be for y, right? So plus y. So that would give you, this implies that x is now going to be equal to 1. Well, sorry, y is equal to 1. Since x is equal to 0, y is equal to 1. Okay. Next, coming for t, you can see that 0 is equal to minus 2x minus 2y plus z. So now substituting the values, this is now going to be 0, this is now going to be minus 2 plus z is equal to 0, or we can see that z is equal to 2. So z is equal to 2. So from this we infer that it is now going to be L is equal to AT squared. Okay. So from this we get D is the correct option. Okay. Now let me click on D, save and go to the next one. Okay. Now coming to the fourth question. Identify the pair whose dimensions are equal. Identify the pair whose dimensions are equal. Okay. Now, you know, let me clear the board. Okay. It is now going to be W is equal to, you know, it is Fs cos theta, right? Fs cos theta. Now for force, it is now going to be where F is going to be the force and S is the displacement, you know that. So let me put it as, for F, it is now going to be ml t to the power of minus 2. And of course, for distance displacement, it is going to be just L. And cos theta is going to be a constant. You need not take that. It has not got any dimensions. So that is now going to be, work is now going to be ml squared t to the power of minus 2. Okay. Now, you know, torque is equal to R vector cross F vector. It's a cross form, or which is equal to RF sine theta. Okay. So that is now going to give you L times ml t to the power of minus 2. Okay. So we can see that is nothing but ml squared t to the power of minus 2. Okay. So we can see that torque and work, these dimensions are equal. So let us see which option is correct. So we can see that A is the correct option. Okay. Torque and work is the correct option. Okay. Save that. Next, going to the fifth question. E, M, J, and G denote energy, mass angular momentum, and gravitational constant respectively. Then the dimensions of E j squared by m to the power of 5 g squared are what? Okay, let us solve this. Let me clear the board. Now see, it's given us E j squared divided by m to the power of 5 g squared. Okay. Now write the dimensions for everything. You can see that it is now going to be equal to ml squared t to the power of minus 2 times ml squared t to the power of minus 1 the whole square divided by m to the power of 5 times m L to the power of minus 1 L cube, sorry, m to the power of minus 1 L cube t to the power of minus 2 the whole square. Okay. Now after simplifying everything, you can see that it is now going to be simply m to the power of 0, L to the power of 0, t to the power of 0, because everything gets cancelled. So, which means it is dimensionless, or it is simply an angle. So option A is correct. So pick that, save that, and go to the next question. In a certain time, 1 unit of time is 5 seconds, 1 unit of mass is 20 kg, and 1 unit of length is 10 meters. In this system, 1 unit of power corresponds to what? He's asking. Okay. Let us go. Let me solve that for you. Now look. He says 1 second is equal to 5 seconds. 1 kg is equal to 20 kg. 1 meter is equal to 10 meters. And 1 watt is equal to 1 kg m square. Yeah. Unit of 1 unit of power, he says. How much? How much is now going to be that? Let us now solve. Actually, I have to solve this. Let me solve it and then see. Okay, this is what? This is what we have to find out. Okay, now let us see. Now let me substitute all the values. That is 1 by 20. Okay, 1 by 20 into, that is so many kg. Okay, that is kg times 1 by 10 meters times 1 by 5 seconds. This is now going to be the whole square, and this is now going to be the raised to the power minus 3. Or this is now going to be, when I calculate this, I'll get it as 1 by 20 times 1 by 10 squared is going to be 100. So 1 by 100 times, this is nothing but 5 raised to the power of minus 3, which is nothing but 125. Okay, which is nothing but when I simplify this, I'll get it as 1 by 60 watts. Okay, so this is now going to be 1 by 60 watts. Now let's see which option is correct. B option is correct. Okay. Let's go to the next one, the 7th one. The unit of L by R, where L is inductance and R is resistance, is what? Okay, now let's see that. Now, you know, the dimension for inductance, L by R is now going to be, you can see that for inductance, it is now going to be L is equal to M L squared C to the power of minus 2 T to the power of 0. And for resistance R, it is now going to be M L squared C to the power of minus 2 T to the power of minus 1. Now, when you divide both, everything gets cancelled. You get T to the power of minus 1, it goes up, becomes T. So it is just seconds. Okay. So you can see that option A is correct. Okay. Save that. Go to the next question. Mu and epsilon 0 denote the permeability and permittivity of free space. The dimension of mu 0, epsilon 0 are what? Now let's see that. Okay. Now, you know, 1 by mu 0 epsilon, root of mu 0 epsilon 0 is equal to C. Now let me square it so that I can get rid of the square root. So that will give you 1 by mu 0 epsilon 0 is equal to C squared. Or 1 by C squared is equal to mu 0 epsilon 0. Okay. So that would give you 1 by, now you know, for C is nothing but the velocity of light. So that will give you L T to the power of minus 1 the whole square. Okay. So which is nothing but L to the power of minus 2 T to the power of minus 2. Now let's see which option is correct. Yeah, B is correct. Okay, so let us click on that and go to the next question. If the equation y is equal to a cos bx minus ct, describe the motion of objects where x and y are displacements and t is the time. What must be the units of variables a, b, and c? You know, a, b, and c are the variables there. He's asking what should be the units of a, b, and c. Okay. Let me clear the book. Now see. Y is equal to, it's given y is equal to cos of bx minus ct. Okay, bx minus ct. Now, you know, y is in meters. Okay, y is in meters. Oh, sorry, a cos bx minus ct, right? Okay, now I can simply write this as y in meters. So a is in, let's see the question. It's a cos bx minus ct. Yes. Okay. So a times cos b, again x is now going to be in meters, minus c and t is now going to be in seconds. Okay. It's going to be like that. So, you know, this should be an angle because cos of something, that means b minus c, that is where b into meters and c into seconds, this should be dimensionless. Okay, this should now become unitless or dimensionless. So for b to become unitless, then this should also be a reciprocal of m, right? So that should be equal to 1 by m. Only then it will get cancelled, right? Same way, so b should be equal to 1 by m. And same way, c to become unitless, that should become 1 by t. Only then it will get cancelled. So I can write this as m to the power of minus 1. This can be written as t to the power of minus 1. So let's see which option is correct. A is correct. M to the power of minus 1 and second to the power of minus 1. So A is correct. Okay. So let's save and go to the next question. Now coming to the significant figures, which we were talking earlier. Find the value of 1.53 into 0.9995 divided by 1.592 with regards to three significant figures. Okay. Let us solve this. So it's given 1.53 times 0.9995 divided by 1.595. Okay. So you can actually use a calculator. I mean, you can calculate, or you can use a calculator and find out. Of course, you're not allowed to use a calculator. You'll have to multiply and see only, or you can use logarithms instead. So 0.96057747. This is the answer. Now he's asking you to find out three significant figures. Now look into this. This is now going to be 5. So I can write it as 0.961. So I have three significant figures. Let's see which is correct. Okay, A is correct. So save that. Now going to the 11th question. Volt is equivalent to what? Let's now calculate that. Volt is equivalent to what? Okay. Now, you know, V is nothing but potential, right? V is potential. You know, potential is nothing but work done by charge. Okay. Work done by charge, which is equal to J by C. Joules by C. C for charge, it is not going to be coulomb, so C. So V is equal to joules per coulombs. Let's see which option is correct. Joules per coulomb. So option C is correct. Let us mark. Okay. Then the initial, now coming to the errors, which we are talking towards the end. The initial and final temperature of a liquid in a container are observed to be 76.3 plus or minus 0.5 degrees Celsius and 27.7 plus or minus 0.2 degrees Celsius. Now let's work that out. Now, I told you if it is now going to be the say the error, the small changes, we'll have to add it up, right? So now let us write that out. So it is given that fall in temperature is now going to be 76.3 plus or minus 0.5 degrees Celsius, okay, minus 27.7 plus or minus 0.2 degrees Celsius. Now take the mean values, subtract that. 76.0 minus 27.7, that gives you 652, 642. So it is now going to be 42.3. Okay, 42.3. And now coming to the errors, this part and this part, I told you you'll have to add it up. Whatever it is, even if it is going to be the negative symbol or a multiplication symbol or a division symbol, whenever it comes to errors, you'll have to add up the errors. Okay, so that is now going to be 0.5 plus 0.2, which gives you 0.7. So it is now going to be 42.3 plus or minus 0.7 degrees Celsius. Okay. Actually, it is printed wrong here. It should be 42.6. Okay. Now coming to the next one. An athletic coach told his team that muscle times speed is equal to power. What dimensions does he view for muscle? Okay, this is an interesting question. Let me see. Actually, in the earlier question, I think yeah, once again, let me go to the previous one. I think I went wrong once again. Yeah. Oh, it's 76.3. I wrote it as 76.0. That's my mistake. Yes. Let me do it again for you. 76.3 plus or minus 0.5 degrees Celsius minus 27.7 plus or minus 0.2 degrees Celsius. So as I told you, take the main values, subtract them. 76.3, 27.7. That gives you 48.6. Yes. And 0.5, you'll have to add up the errors. That give you 0.7. So that gives you 48.6 plus or minus 0.7. So option B is, sorry, C is correct. Okay, 48.6 plus or minus. So we'll have to say that. Okay. Yeah. Now we'll go to the next question. 13th question. An athletic coach told his team that his muscle times speed is equal to power. What dimensions does he view for muscle? Okay. Now let us solve this. It's pretty easy. Now you know, you can rewrite it as power is equal to muscle into speed. Okay. Muscle into speed. So now you know power is nothing but energy by time. So I can write power is equal to energy divided by time. So now you know that is nothing but energy is nothing but force into displacement. So finally, when I substitute that ml t to the power of minus 2 into displacement is now going to be L. Okay. Now this is now going to be T. Okay. That into, that will now give you LT to the power of minus 1. So that gives you ML T to the power of minus 2. Now you can see MLT to the power of, let us see which option is correct. You can see A is correct. MLT to the power of minus 2. Option A is correct. So let us go to that. Save that and go to the next question. Now quantity represented by mass times pressure is by density divided by density is what? Now let us go to that question. So mass times pressure, mass into pressure divided by density. Just you can say mass. Now you know density is nothing but mass per unit volume. So I'll write it pressure, mass into pressure divided by mass per unit volume divided by volume. So mass and mass will get cancelled. So this now goes here. Pressure into volume. Okay. Pressure into volume. So now substitute the dimensions for that. That gives you ml T to the power of minus 2 by L squared into L cube. Okay. So that would give you, because pressure is nothing but force per unit area. That's why I'm substituting. So for pressure, I'm substituting force per unit area. Okay. Now for force, it is now going to be ml T to the power of minus 2. And for 8 is now going to be L squared. Now cancel it off. That gives you ml squared T to the power of minus 2. Now let's see which option is correct. ml squared T to the power of minus 2, which is nothing but same as Okay. So that is now the unit for ml squared T to the power of minus 2. So we can just go with that. Okay. Then next, going to the 15th question. Pick out the odd one. Now we can see electron volt, joule second, watt second, kilowatt hour. Now we can see except D, all others are units of energy, whereas D alone is now going to be the energy consumed. Okay, so that is now going to be the, so D is the, okay. Now finally you can end the test. Yes, you are sure to end the test. Okay. The results are getting loaded. Okay. So you can see which are the questions you went wrong. I deliberately went. So just to show you which can be actually where you need to be. I didn't answer. See, this red one says it is incorrect. See, so I deliberately went wrong so that you will identify how to see which is correct and which is wrong. So the green one says are correct. The yellow boxes says unanswered, and Q is the incorrect question. Okay. Okay. Now we want to know the explanation for this. So how do you go for the explanation? You can as well click on this. Okay. Now you can see the explanation part is also given here. You can see the odd man out is joule second, because all other are units of energy, whereas joule second is a unit of power. So I deliberately went wrong so that I wanted to show you how the yellow line will look, the green line will look, I mean green button will look, and the red button will look. So now you can see, you can actually verify your answer. You can get the explanation also here. Okay, see the explanation part. The odd man out is now going to be the joule second. Okay, all others are units of energy, whereas joule second is the unit of power. So B is going to be the correct answer. Okay, so unanswered, we actually worked it out, but I didn't save it, I didn't mark it, so those questions were unanswered. Okay, now coming back to the physics tests, like this you have 102 tests now. Okay, likewise you can take as many tests as possible and then verify yourself with the answers. You can follow the same thing here. Okay, so same way you have chemistry for biology, and also you have the needful tests here. Okay, you have all the needful tests, and then you can get the additional help for, see here is an ask button. You can click that and you can ask the, there is an ask feature in our site, and can also have the chat support using the chat support using the Telegram, where it is now going to be the C6 student help board. And also you can get the one-to-one classes with our tutors also. For other enquiries or questions, you can as well send the mail to info@clay6.com. So tomorrow, same time, I'll be meeting you all with the next chapter, motion. Okay. So until then, thank you. Have a nice day. See you all tomorrow again. Yeah. Bye, children.